right, certainly.
Actually,
Thank
he's
you,
in
Sam.
fifth.
On board with Rick. Now, here's something else to consider. This race traditionally changes in the last 10 laps. We're approaching that area now. The green flag is back out, and Rick Mears comes around John Andretti. He's no factor whatsoever, but Michael is right there with him. Michael moving to the outside. Can he keep in the high groove? He did it at Phoenix. Can he do it here? Michael Andretti takes the lead away from Rick Mears. Wow!
That's one of the toughest passes I've ever seen. A short shoot pass with two cars running nearly the same speed. I'll just bet you that Rick Mears thought that would have been impossible, and I just can tell you he never, ever looked for Michael to go that way.
That is sheer virtuosity by Michael Andretti, Bobby. Don't you agree? That was an incredible
That was one of the finest pieces of driving, one of the hardest pieces of driving I've seen. And Sam, it's very difficult to pass somebody on the outside like that, and especially a car that's just as fast.
And from Bobby Unser's point of view, a position on the track that he was not expected. But here is Rick Mears now in the same position as Mears, who has been driving a very different line. This race takes Michael Andretti 187 laps into the record book. The fight is at the front.
Our hats off to him now. If you ever see racing better than that, I'd certainly like to know where it's going to be.
That's Rick's wife, Chris Mears, as Rick is back out in front. What I was going to remind you of, in the last 10 laps, the lead tends to change here. In 89, Fittipaldi taking the race away from Al Unser. In 86, Bobby Rahal taking it away from Kevin Kogan. The two wives pray their husbands around. In 83, Tom Sneva took the race away from Al Unser. Bobby Unser won here in 1975, taking the race away in the last 10 laps because of rain from Johnny Rutherford.
Rick Mears has driven for Roger Penske at the Speedway for 13 years, winning 3 of those races, an incredible record.
He's literally pulling away from Michael right now. There's something that's gone wrong with Michael because I don't know what it is, but he's definitely falling back a little bit. Rick is just sailing away. I wouldn't think that Rick's car would be that much better just all of a sudden.
Well, Rick Mears joined the list of 4-time winners at the Indianapolis 500. Al Unser, A.J. Foyt are the only other two.
This year, the first year that Rick Mears has ever hit the wall on this track. Also, the first year he ever left the grounds of the Speedway during the month of May. Earlier this week, he went down to his new home in Florida to supervise the construction. He came back. That's a different kind of Rick Mears. Rick Mears at 39, starting to look toward the end of his career. What a way to start the end of his career.
The front of the race belongs to Rick Mears. You saw his wife, Chris, on the radio. Not to Rick, but passing information to the board man. And here's your third-place driver right now, the defending champion, Arie Luyendyk. He is a lap behind the race. But if something should happen at the front of the field, he's right there.
And Arie has never given up, and that's a great point, because with the two leaders dueling it out, he might be in a very good position.
Shows that he is a true champion, Sam, because he's driven hard all day, even though he got behind. But the thing is you watch Mears and Michael, two fine drivers today.
At the front of the field is Rick Mears, but the yellow flag comes out. There is a car sitting on the entrance to the pit lane. And apparently they've decided to bring the yellow out, and it's none other than Mario Andretti.
What an irony. The yellow flag would prevent his son from having any chance to counterattack against Rick Mears.
But then it might give him a chance, because it will put Michael up next to Rick.
Good point for a restart. And what happened on the last restart? Michael was able to rip by Rick.
So the face of this race changes again as the yellow is out, and it will be a definite sprint to the finish with 9 laps to go. It's Rick Mears, then Michael Andretti. The order of the field at this moment: Mears, Michael, Arie Luyendyk, Al Unser Jr., John Andretti. Mario Andretti was running in 6th. He'll stay there for a while because he's pulled to a stop, and he'll come out of the order. Then Gordon Johncock is up in 7th place. He started 33rd. Stan Fox having a wonderful ride. And then Danny Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi show in the order, but remember, they are now out of the race. 191 laps complete. Rick Mears leads it. 75th running of the Indy 500, 193 laps complete. Let's go back and take a look. This was the last restart at 185 laps into the race. And look at how the two of them battled coming back into the corner. And Michael Andretti went around on the outside. But seeing it could be done just a lap later, Rick Mears did exactly the same thing. And as a result of that, well, here we get a look at that once again. Spectacular little piece of driving as John Andretti wisely got out of the way, and Michael just swept by to the outside. We should be going back to green. Lights are out on the pace car indicating we should come back to green flag. Rick Mears has won 3 Indy 500s, but he's lost 2 of the closest in history to John Cock by 16 100ths of a second in 82 and by 2 seconds to Rahal in 86.
The point is, he is no stranger to close finishes. Michael Andretti has never been involved with a battle for the lead in the Indy 500 when it counted. It counts now.
6 laps to go.
Rick really got a run at it that time at the restart, Paul. He wasn't going to let Michael sneak up on him. He didn't have any traffic to worry about, nor did Michael.
Look at that. There's so few cars left in the race. Rick has a completely clean racetrack ahead of him and will for probably 3 to 4 laps.
I think what happened during that passing that they did back and forth, that you'll find that they found a new groove on that racetrack. Rick's speeds have picked up like to over 220 miles an hour.
We started with 33 cars. Only a third of the field is left. Heavy attrition here today in Indianapolis.
Rick was the fastest qualifier, remember. He ran the 4 best laps when it counted on pole day. He was the pole sitter. Now he has a clean track ahead of him, just like he did then. Rick Mears right now is doing what he does best.
But Rick Mears once told me that in 1982 he made a mistake in the last corner of the last lap that gave the race to Gordon Johncock. Were it not for that split second, then Rick Mears might be driving for his 5th Indianapolis victory. Let's get an update report on Michael Andretti.
And as the laps run out for Michael, Paul, he reports on the radio, understeer condition. That means push. That means you've got to bully that race car through the corner. That may cost him the opportunity to challenge Mears, because Mears, as he flies by us toward turn 1, looks like he's got a great balanced setup.
And a grim look, you saw it from Sandy Andretti as she watched Michael come by and is privy to the conversations that go on between the driver and his crew. Rick Mears, 196 laps complete.
Now pushing Michael's car is just going to kill his speed. It bogs him down the corners, absorbs up horsepower, kills the straightaway speed, hurts him all the way around. But Rick Mears has got to really like it right now, Paul.
There is no other contest through the field except for the lead. Everyone else is set out laps actually separating them. There's second place. You saw Rick come through.
Penske team has won in 72, in 79, in 81. In 84, there's Carl Haas, owner of Michael Andretti's car. Chris Mears, who of course is communicating with her husband, Sandy Andretti. Those are the players waiting in the pit, helpless themselves at this point to do anything about it.
2.3 seconds separated Rick Mears and Michael Andretti on the last pass at the start-finish line. They're averaging 175.7 miles an hour. Not near the race record set here last year at 185.9 miles an hour by Arie Luyendyk. Arie Luyendyk is still in this race. He runs in 3rd place, a lap behind the leader. But Arie does, in fact, have the leaders in sight. So should anything happen in these last 2 laps, Arie Luyendyk is definitely within striking distance and could pick up his 2nd win. Rick Mears on the backstretch. The crowd anticipates a potential 4-time win for Rick. Michael Andretti in a desperate drive to try and catch him.
On a day that sees what may be the retirement from competition by the great 4-time winner, A.J. Foyt, we may see another 4-time winner crowned in Rick Mears.
And the white flag has been thrown to Rick Mears, indicating 1 lap to go. Now less than 2 miles for Rick Mears. If he holds on, he will become the 3rd 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500 here on the 75th running of the great race. Chris Mears as Rick runs the straightaway. has accomplished what only 2 men have before. He is now a 4-time winner of the 500 as he waves to Michael Andretti, who is alongside in the crowd. The race has been run for the 75th time, and Rick Mears picks it up. Third place is this car, Arie Luyendyk.